So based on operations we perform on database, SQL commands are categorized into 5 types. What are they? DDL commands. DDL, that means data definition language. DML, data manipulation language. Data query language, DQL. And the TCL, transaction control language. And the DCL, data control language. 5 types are there. Under this DDL, create, alter, drop, truncate commands comes under this data definition language. And under this DML, data manipulation language, these insert, update, delete, merge commands. Okay, yeah, we have 4 commands here. And select command comes under data query language, and commit, rollback, save transaction comes under TCL, transaction control language. Okay, and finally DCL, data control language, it has grant and revoke commands. Okay, till this we have discussed. Now let us see how to connect to SQL Server. Did you install SQL Server in your system? Did you try? Okay. Now let us see how to connect to SQL Server. Okay. Now this is here SQL Server Management Studio. You see here we have SQL Server Management Studio. This is a client tool. This is a client tool. Okay. Now it is opening. Just wait. Yes, it is open now. It is processing. So this is SQL Server Management Studio. SQL Server Management Studio. See, now we are trying to connect to SQL Server using SSMS, SQL Server Management Studio. How to connect to SQL Server? Let us see. See, it is asking few details here. These are the connection properties. Here we have connection properties. Here you see server name. This is server name. We give server name. Server name in the sense our computer name. Our computer name of the server is nothing but computer name. Okay, and here authentication. You see here we have a drop down list here. Windows authentication, SQL Server authentication, Microsoft Entra password, integrated MFA, managed identity, service protocol, default. These are the authentication modes we have. These are the authentication modes. Okay, we will see one by one. And it is asking username and password. Username and password. Okay, and after that here it is showing database names. It is loading. See here it is loading. Okay, these are the database names. And encrypt option is also there. Under this we have mandatory, optional, and strict. 3 options are there under this encrypt. Okay, and we also have trust server certificate option. Now see, what is authentication? What is authentication? We have given our server name. This is nothing but our computer name. And the second one is SQL Server authentication, Windows authentication, and Microsoft Entra details are also there here. Different modes are there. Okay. Now let me show you one picture here, how to connect to SQL server. This is the process, this is the flow, how we connect to SQL server. Okay, see here we have client in the sense SSMS, SQL Server Management Studio. It uses a network protocol. Yesterday I showed you TCP/IP protocol, named pipes. Okay, it uses a network protocol to connect to SQL server, and for protection purpose, for protecting the connection, it uses encryption. Okay, so once it is authenticated, it will be connected to SQL server. This is the flow. First, it uses client, our client SSMS uses network protocol. Okay, so once you select the network protocol, then encryption, it uses encryption to provide security to the connection string or connection. It's a network protocol. And whenever it is authenticated, that means authentication is done, it will be connected to SQL server. Okay, now see here, authentication in the sense, it is the process of identifying the user. It is the process of identifying the user. Okay, let me write one by one. Now, what we have given here, we have given server name. We entered server name. How to connect to SQL server. How to connect to SQL server. SQL server. Now see, server name. Server name in the sense, server name. It is nothing but computer name. It is nothing but computer name. Okay, that means name of the server. Okay, and what is server? Where exactly you install SQL server? That is called a server system. Server system. Okay, now authentication. Authentication. Okay, authentication. Now it is the process of identifying the user. Okay, now see here, we have first option is Windows authentication. We have Windows authentication. Okay, let me write Windows authentication. Windows authentication. Okay, here now SQL server, I have SQL server in my system. It is installed in my system. I am only the person here using SQL server. I'm using the system, and in that system SQL server is installed. So one single user, I am only the person using this system. Okay, that means whoever the Windows user, they can use this server. Okay, now SQL server is installed in my system. That's why I can able to work with SQL server. That means it is for single user. We select Windows authentication for single user. Okay, now another option is also there. What is that? SQL server authentication. SQL server authentication. Okay, while installing, I told you how to select these two modes. Windows authentication is for single user, and SQL server authentication, it is a mixed mode. That means it uses both in Windows authentication as well as SQL server authentication also. That means it is for multiple users. Okay, so multiple developers can work on SQL server now. So to do that, SQL server will be given, authentication will be selected, and whenever we have multiple users to use SQL server, they can be provided user ID and password. SQL server authentication has to be selected, and they have to log in into the server. Okay, this is for multiple users. Okay, next you see here, the next mode is Microsoft Entra. Microsoft Entra. What does it mean? Microsoft Entra password, Microsoft Entra integrated, MFA, managed identity, service principal, Microsoft Entra default. Okay, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. 6 options are there here. Now let us see. Let me copy these things. Microsoft Entra. What is this Microsoft Entra? Okay. First, let us try to understand earlier in the organizations, in the companies, to manage or to control all the systems, they used to maintain a server system. In companies, we have that means hundreds of systems now. So to control all these systems, company used to maintain a server in the organization itself, in the company itself, they used to maintain a server, and the system administrator, he is the operator of that server system, and he used to create users to work in their corresponding systems. Okay, he used to create user IDs. He used to create user IDs. What is this? Okay, he used to create user IDs. Okay, and passwords also, and will be these credentials will be provided to the user so that they can work on their systems. They are called client systems. Client systems, and these client systems are connected to SQL. Sorry, a system that is server system in the company. Okay, how do they do all these things? They do all these things using a component called Active Directory. A component called Active Directory. It is a directory service in the server system. So through this, he can create or he can control everything. He can control everything. But later companies, they started using cloud technologies. And Microsoft Azure is a reputed one, and many companies, they started using Azure services, Azure cloud services. Okay, so here companies, they can use infrastructure service in cloud service. It is a service, infrastructure service. That means they can create whatever resources they want. They can create virtual systems. They can install any kind of softwares in that. So to run their company, they can do all these things in the cloud itself. Okay, and to control all these systems, again they have another service called Azure Active Directory in the cloud itself. Azure Active Directory, it's a service in cloud, Azure cloud. Okay, it is similar to Active Directory only. It is similar to Active Directory. Okay, but later in 2023, Microsoft renamed it as Microsoft Entra ID. Microsoft Entra ID. It is nothing but Active Directory, where it is in cloud, Azure cloud. Azure Active Directory was the old name, and Microsoft Entra ID is the new name for it. Okay. Now, what is Microsoft Entra exactly? Okay, let us see what it is. Microsoft Entra. Microsoft Entra is or Entra ID is an identity and access management. That means IAM, access management solution that helps organizations secure and manage identities in cloud, and also on premises in the sense in the organization itself. Okay, environments. environments, on-premises environments. Okay, so earlier it was Azure AD, Active Directory, Azure Active Directory. Okay, in 2023, earlier it was Azure Active Directory, but in 2023 it was renamed, or Microsoft has renamed it as Microsoft Entra ID. Okay, this is Microsoft Entra. This is nothing but Active Directory, Azure Active Directory, which works in cloud, Azure cloud. Okay, here we have six options. One is Microsoft Entra password, and Microsoft Entra integrated, Microsoft Entra MFA, Entra managed identity principal default. Okay, six options we have. Okay, now let us see one by one. Here, finally, this Entra, Microsoft Entra is nothing but for authentication and authorization. What is authentication and what is authorization? Let us see that. Authentication in the sense, it is the process of identifying the user identity. It is the process of identifying the user's identity. Okay, user's identity. What is authorization? Authorization, it is the process of giving access privileges to the user once he is authenticated. Okay, that is authorization. Okay, authentication, nothing but who are you, whereas authorization in the sense what he can access. Authentication asks the user who are you, and authorization in the sense it is for what the user can access. It tells about what the user can access. Okay, now let us see one by one. Microsoft Entra password, first one. It is actually, when you select this Microsoft Entra password, it uses username and email, email and password for cloud access. Okay, now actually this this refers to a traditional password based login only. It refers to a traditional password based login only. It is managed by a Microsoft Entra ID. For example, when you log in into Outlook, you know Outlook now. When you log in into Outlook or Teams or Azure with your username, that means email ID and password, that's Entra password authentication. That is nothing but Entra password authentication. Okay, so it is the basic authentication method using only a password, single factor. We call it as a single factor. Okay, single factor. Next one is Microsoft Entra integrated. Okay, it uses Windows domain account. Windows or domain account to authenticate automatically. No need to re-enter credentials. That means here, if you log in into your office laptop with your company email ID, suppose you have given a company email ID, and automatically it gets access to Outlook, Teams, and also OneDrive without re-entering password. That means one credential with which you can log in into anything. Okay, that is about Microsoft Entra integrated. Okay, that means which connects on premises as well as and cloud services also. Both it uses for both. Okay, and the next one is Microsoft Entra MFA, multi-factor authentication. It uses OTP. Via SMS or email, and Microsoft Authenticator app. It is an application, mobile application that we can install in our mobile itself. And the biometric face or fingerprint, it uses these modes. These are the modes. Okay, that means it takes first one, password, multi-factor authentication. It takes password, and also along with that, a code is sent to the mobile or email. So these two things, both the things confirm our authentication. That is about Microsoft Entra MFA, multi-factor authentication. Okay, so usually we use this in Gmail also. In some applications, in some websites, we use this kind of multi-factor authentication. MFA in the sense multi-factor authentication. Okay, next, managed identity. What does it mean? Actually, it is for Azure services. Okay, virtual machines we have, functions we have, web applications we have in cloud. So it is for Azure services. Okay, here we don't have to set passwords or secrets. Automatically, whenever you have this account now, it will be worked for all the services in Azure platform. Okay, that means we have web application. That means suppose our web application in Azure want to connect to Azure SQL database, then you can assign it a managed identity. We give managed identity, so it can log in into the services without storing passwords in code. Okay, that is Entra managed identity. Microsoft Entra managed identity. It is for Azure services. Okay, and the next one is Microsoft Services Principal. It is for applications and automation scripts. It is a service principal like user account only, but that user account is for applications and services. Okay, not for humans. It is not for humans. It is for applications and services. So they have user accounts. So with that, they can log in into Azure platform, and they can use any kind of resources automatically. That is about Microsoft Services Principal. Okay, so that means it's a login identity for applications to access resources securely. That is called Microsoft Services Principal. Okay, and the last one is Microsoft Entra Default. For Azure tools like standard development kits, Azure CLI, and Terraforms, we use this Entra Default. So usually when we create a Microsoft account, so first time Entra automatically creates a default directory for us. It creates a default directory for us. Okay, that is our Microsoft Entra default. So when you sign up for Azure for the first time with our email ID, so you will see something like it gives some email ID like xyz.onmicrosoft.com. So finally, it is the default Entra directory. It creates a directory for it, Entra directory, default one. So this is about Microsoft Entra default. 6 modes are there. Okay, but since I installed in my system, I can use Windows authentication or SQL Server authentication. If you install in your system, you can use either one, either Windows authentication or SQL Server authentication. And these are the modes, different modes we have. Usually in companies, they provide these details whenever you need it. Okay. So you no need to bother about this. You try to understand this, what is enter ID. So whenever it is needed, they will give you the details or credentials. Accordingly, you can work on it. Okay, that is about authentication modes, different authentication modes. And the next thing is here we have, see, encryption. We have encryption. You see, what is this encryption? Okay, so when a client like SQL Server Management Studio, it is an application connects to SQL Server, the connection can be protected by using encryption. By using encryption, we can provide a security to the connection, so that others cannot see the data being sent over the network. That is the purpose of encryption. Okay, so internally it uses SSL TLS to encrypt the connection. Let me write here. Okay, so here when a client like SSMS connects to SQL server, the connection can be protected using encryption, so that others cannot see the data being sent over the network. Okay, it uses for conversion, for encryption, it uses SSL and TLS to encrypt the connection. SSL in the sense secure socket layer, and TLS in the sense transport layer security. These two are the cryptographic protocols used to secure communication over a network. It is used to secure communication over a network. Okay, now see here we have three options here: mandatory, optional, and strict. Mandatory, optional, and strict. Let us see one by one. The first one is mandatory. Mandatory means must use encryption. But doesn't check certificate strictly. Okay, mandatory in the sense it must use encryption, but doesn't check a certificate strictly. Okay, let me write. The next one is also strict in the sense must use encryption and validate certificate properly. And optional. Actually it tries encryption if available, otherwise it will leave. Okay, so here the first one is mandatory, must use encryption but doesn't check a certificate strictly. Okay, here you see we have trust server certificate. Under this drop down we have trust server certificate. First let us see this one so that you will understand. Trust server certificate. is a setting used when connecting to SQL server over a secure connection. Okay, and it tells the client in the sense SSMS, SQL Server Management Studio, whether or not to trust the server's SSL or TLS certificate without validating it. Okay, it is a certificate. Trust server certificate. It is a checkbox. See option here we have. If you check this one, that means it is true. It is a internal setting used when we try to connect to SQL server over a secure connection. Okay, trust server certificate. Whenever it is selected, that means true. That means internally it skips certificate validation. It just encrypts. Without verifying the certificate. Suppose if it is false, that means it is not selected. If it is not selected in the sense false, that means it validates the certificate fully. Okay. Now by default it is true. Now come back to our three options here. Mandatory encryption. What does it mean? Must use encryption, but doesn't check certificate strictly. Okay, that means whenever trust certificate is selected, that means here it is true. That means it skips the certificate validation. And it just encrypts. That means by default it is true. And whenever you select mandatory, it just encrypts because it allows encryption. Trust server certificate. Okay, and strict in the sense must use encryption and validate certificate properly. Okay, so it is selected. When you select strict mode, so it uses encryption. And also validates its certificate, trust server certificate. It validates its certificate also. And optional in the sense it tries for encryption. But if it is not available, if the certificate is not available, then simply it will leave it. And will be login into the SQL server. That is optional. No need to select or no need to encrypt anything. It is just optional. That is the use of encrypt here, this mode. Okay. Now color here we have red, green, blue, yellow, orange colors are there. Usually in our companies they maintain development server, they maintain testing server, they maintain production server, UAT and all. So if you give any color for them, if you select any color for them, so by just seeing this color code, you can recognize it easily whether it is a production server or if it is a testing server or it is a development server. You can easily identify by using this color function here, color code here. Okay, that is about a color. Okay, so it is a simple one, no need to worry about this, but you try to understand remaining things. And apart from all these things, this authentication mode, whatever we have, SQL Server authentication and Windows authentication modes, these two are more important, because tomorrow if you install SQL Server, either you select Windows authentication or SQL Server authentication. In companies they give Entra credentials. No need to bother about this. In companies they give these credentials. Okay, Now try to log in into the system. This is the system administrator's user ID, SA system admin, and password we have entered here, and I'm trying to connect it to the SQL server. See, it is connected. Just 1 second, it is a little bit slow. See, it is connected. It is connected. Okay, it is connected. Now the complete thing here is SQL Server Management Studio. The complete thing here, what we are seeing is SQL Server Management Studio. SQL Server Engine is also there that we cannot see. SQL Server in the sense SQL Server Engine that we cannot see. But using a client tool, we can communicate with the server. And this is the client tool, SQL Server Management Studio. See, in the Object Explorer left side, you see, we have databases and we have security option. We have many options here. Okay, so under these databases, some databases are already created. You see here, they are already created. Okay, and this is the new query window. Whenever you click on query window, this new query, it will open a window here. This is a new query window. Okay, and here you see it is showing a drop down list here. It is showing all the databases which were created earlier in SQL Server. See, these are the databases here. The same list it is showing in drop down list. See here. So whenever you want to work on a particular database, you have to select that database. Suppose I want to select a database here. Okay, so whenever I select this database name on this database, I can work here. So that is the use of new query window here. Here we write our queries. Here we write our queries. Okay, SQL Server works in the background process that we cannot see. Okay, now the next one, under this databases, you see, try to observe this one. System databases we have. System databases. Okay, and these are the user created databases. These are the user created databases. These were already created. Okay, but when you install a SQL Server, by default, you get 4 system databases. You get 4 system databases. What are they? Master database, model database, MSDB, and TempDB. These are the system databases. They created automatically whenever you install SQL Server. Okay, now try to understand that one by one. Okay, now what are the system databases? System databases. They are the default databases. They are the default databases. Okay, now now see, what is the first one? Master database. Master database, what it is? Master databases. Master database. What is this? This master database, it contains information about all databases. It contains information about all databases and also logins and also system configuration and file locations, etc. Okay, it contains information about all databases, logins information, system configuration information, and also file locations. Okay, it contains all this information, right? Now, in case if this file is lost, if this database, if this is lost or corrupted, that means SQL Server may not work or may not start. If you lose this master database, SQL Server doesn't work. Okay, SQL Server doesn't work. Okay, that is about master database. It contains all the databases information, logins information, system configuration information, and file location details. Okay, this is a mandatory database. Okay, now see the next one. What is the next one here? Model database. Now see, model database, what it is. What it is? It is a template database. It is a template database. It is used to create new databases. Okay, so every time when we create a new database, SQL server uses the model as a blueprint. It is a template database. It is used to create new databases. So every time when we create a new database, SQL server internally, it uses model database as a blueprint. That means, you see, in our object-oriented programming, if you are aware of object-oriented programming, OOPS concepts, where we create classes now, class is nothing but a template. Okay, now you have to create an object for a class. So using that object, you can do remaining operations. You can call a method. You can use the variables, or whatever the things you have in class that you can use using an object. In the same way, here this database, model database, it is a template database. So whenever you try to create a database, internally SQL server, it refers this model database. It is a blueprint. It refers a model database, and it creates the new database in the same way as the model database is there in SQL server. Okay, so what are the properties we have for model databases? In the same way, it creates internally the new databases based on model database template or a database. Okay, that is about model database. Next one is MSDB. Now see, MSDB. What is this MSDB? It's a scheduling and automation database. It is a scheduling and automation database. It contains jobs. Okay, and backups, and also alerts, and maintenance plans. Okay, it is used by SQL server agent. It is a service for automating tasks. Okay, so when we discussed about components of SQL server, here I explained about SQL server agent. Here you see SQL server agent. See, SQL agent, it is a service. It is for automation. So whenever you have any maintenance plans, or if you're taking any backups, or if you have any jobs, automatically they run. So that information will be stored under this MSDB. In this MSDB, that information will be stored. Okay, and alerts also. Okay, it is used by SQL server agent. Okay, SQL server agent, I will explain that later. Okay, that is about MSDB. It is a system database. It is a default database. Now see, the last one is TempDB. What is this TempDB? See, last one, TempDB. Now it's a temporary storage. It is a temporary storage. Okay, used for storing temporary temporary tables temporary tables. Okay, and also intermediate 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 results and sorting operations, and it automatically clears and resets every time SQL server restarts. Okay, we have a concept called temporary tables concept in SQL server. Okay, so whenever we create temporary tables internally, SQL server, it will be these temporary tables will be created in temporary database, tempdb. Okay, so it is for temporary storage only. It is for holding intermediate results. It is for holding intermediate results. Okay, and also sorting operations we can perform. So this is about a tempdb. This concept we will see later. Temporary tables, how to create temporary tables, how they can be created in tempdb, that we will see later practically. Okay, that is about master database, model database, msdb database, tempdb database. These are all system databases, default databases. So whenever you create SQL server in your system, whenever you install SQL server, so these system databases will be created automatically. Okay, so the usage of all these system databases we have seen now. Okay, now how to create a database. Now the next one is how to create a database. These are the system databases. Now few databases also there here. Now we are going to create a database here. Now see, right click on this database folder here, click on new database, click on new database. Okay, now give just some name here. October. I'm trying to give name like this, database name, October DB. October DB. Okay, this is the name of the database, October test DB. Let us try to give like this. Okay, October test DB. This is the name of the database. So when we give name of the database here, you see, you try to observe here. Here two files are created. October test DB underscore log. This is a log file. This is a log file. Okay, and this is a primary file. Where exactly the data gets stored is nothing but primary file, and this is log information. Whatever in operations we perform on the database, they will get stored in this log file. This is called log file. Okay, it will be created under this path. We will see all these things tomorrow. I will explain one by one. So just try to create a database. Okay, clicking on OK button. Now see, we have created database OCT October test DB. This is the database we have created. Okay, now under this database we have many options. See, many folders are created: database, diagram, tables, views, external resources, synonyms, and programmability, query store. So many are there. Security folder is also created. So how it is creating? SQL Server is creating this new database by referring or by using this master database. Sorry, not master database, model database. It is a template database. See here, template database. It is a template database. It is used to create new databases. Every time when we create a new database, SQL Server uses this model as a blueprint. So internally SQL Server refers this model database and creates the database, new database. Okay, and by referring this, it is creating. So internally, all these folder structures are will be created based on this model database. Okay, SQL Server does this internally. Okay, fine. And what are the different options are there when we create a database? What files will be created internally? How they get generated? What is the importance of each file? And how to write queries and all, we will see from tomorrow onwards. Okay, let us stop now, and we can continue this in the next class. Okay, let us stop now. Any doubts? Kumar, do you have any doubts? Okay, if you don't have any doubts, you can close the session. Anybody? Okay. Okay, fine. Okay. We can continue this tomorrow. Right.